We're on the Country versus Metal podcast with Wes Barlow. How you doing, man?
What's up, man? I'm great. Great. It's been a good day. Things are starting to cool off here in Colorado. Hadn't seen any snow yet, but it's finally just about hoodie weather.
Yeah, that's right. You're in Colorado. I was so man, I was talking about great fiddle players, and I brought your name up, and Matt Barr goes, Wes Barlow, and I was like, yeah, why? You know him? He goes, know him. You guys are neighbors, right? Kinda.
Yeah, dang near. Dang near.
Yeah, I was like, really? Because not a lot of people in the Texas scene live in Colorado. Or
Yeah, you're right about that.
yeah,
Yeah, he was
he's
one of the first musicians I met when he was playing for the Red Iron Push. And then now him and Dora Joe doing their own records and I get to go play fiddle with them and it's always been a lot of fun working with him. He's a good dude.
it's funny. How did I not know he was playing for the Red Iron Push? I did,
Yeah, I mean,
I didn't. I talked to him for
yeah.
2 hours. I don't.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't anymore. He did when I met
Oh,
him, and then him and Brandon, the other writer, went their separate ways creatively on their own projects.
maybe I did know that he knew Brandon Howard. I don't know. That's it. It's
Small
meeting so
world.
many people. Yeah, and the spider web of just how everybody you be all the way over here, but there's ways to bounce around, and that's like a Dolly Shine when people are like, Jared Flucci wrote that. I'm like, really? And they're like, well, he was in the band. I'm like, what? I was like, what band wasn't he in?
Yeah, that's the real question, and probably the shorter answer of what bands he wasn't in. He's played for a lot of folks.
Yeah, so have you.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. I've moved around quite a bit. Right now, I was lucky enough to spend the summer as an assistant tour manager with Drew Baldridge out of Nashville, and they started pulling me up on fiddle towards the end of it, into the touring season because we were first of three on the Bailey Zimmerman New to Country tour, and so for 25 minutes, there's not really enough time to add an extra instrument. But we got to do Red Rocks. I got to live on a bus and run around with some homies and make some good money and even better memories. So it's been fun. That was kind of my first jump into the crew world.
yeah,
I've typically been a fiddle player for my entire career.
just I think you mean like TM and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Assistant tour manager was fun. I learned a lot and I am good at it, but it's not more fun than playing fiddle. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, it's different. It's funny is it, it I have like a 9 to 5, but it was when people would just ask me like, hey, do you want to TM this guy? And I'm like, why me? They're like, oh, we heard you're pretty good at making money on the road. I'm like, yeah, because I get hungry. Like
Yeah,
you have to hustle because
yeah,
it'd be like, why are we stopping at the Guitar Center? I'm like, to get a $90 guitar, and you're gonna write the first verse lyrics on this. You're gonna do the chorus, and you're gonna sign it, and we're gonna raffle it off.
heck yeah,
And that's I granted when you're opening up for Billy Zimmerman, you're not doing stuff like that. Doing
man.
you're walking
It
around
was
with a bucket, like, selling
for
raffle
sure.
tickets.
For sure.
Like,
Reckless. I think it was Reckless Kelly. It was either Reckless or Mickey and the Motor Cars. They called it Guitar Safari. And whenever they'd get to a venue, um, and they got done with sound check, if there was a pawn shop within walking distance, they'd walk over and buy the cheapest guitar on the wall and then sign it and sell it for 400 bucks. Don't have to
yeah,
carry it around. Don't have to protect it in the trailer. And just making money. I had a hustle for a bit when I was playing with the Irish rock band, buying and flipping fiddles on the road, mostly Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist. I'd find my ear loves the mid to late 1800s German instruments. And so I've looked at a lot of them, I've played a lot of them, and I'd buy one for 200 bucks, 300 bucks, come back home, put two or 300 into it, set up and strings, and then flip it for 1800 or 2 grand. And the fifth or sixth one I brought to my luthier, he was like, man, what are you doing with all of these fiddles? Like, you're not playing all of them, are you? I said, no, sir, I'm selling them. And he goes, I'll make you a deal. How about you buy fiddles for me on the road? I'll either pay you in advance or pay you when you get home. I'll do all your luthier work for free. And then I'll cut you a check on the backside if I make enough selling them. So for 5 years, I didn't have to pay for any luthier work and got a couple checks from him too. So And like you
Nice.
said, hustling. You got to stay on top of it.
Yeah. What's the most expensive fiddle you've ever played?
The most expensive one I've ever played. I played a $20,000 violin, they called
That's
it, 2 months ago, and I didn't like the way it played or sounded at
that's
all.
crazy.
The older instruments just they sing differently, they feel different in my hands, and they vibrate differently. Especially all of my old fiddles are players quality, they're not collectors quality. So they've had their fair share of repairs and dings, and I've played the perfect ones that are that old, and they don't sing the same.
Yeah.
I love imperfect people. Those are some of my favorite, and fiddles are much the same with all the personality.
Yeah, dude, it just reminds me of that video of where the guy was playing, I believe it was the subway, and he was playing a Stradivarius. He was just walking right by him. He's like, I
Yeah.
have no idea of,
Augusta, what was his last name? I know what you're talking about. He was a first chair fiddler in the New York Symphony. Well, I
yeah,
guess he prefers first chair violinist, but fiddle, violin, it's all the same to me. It depends on the song. Fiddle's got, you say it with more style. You have a lot more choices of like how to play notes because it's not all written out.
yeah,
And how you say it and the attitude of which you play is the difference for me between violin and fiddle.
yeah. It's funny how it's like an online battle between people or the difference and all the slogans, all the sayings. I
Yeah, there's a lot of them.
yeah, a violinist and a fiddle player don't have shoes on. I saw that one comment you made a video.
Yeah, yeah, that one. My favorite one is a violin has strings and a fiddle got strings. Or
Yeah.
the difference between a violin and a fiddle player is a tuxedo and $150 an hour.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. So you're the founder of the Texas Fiddle Clinic, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That was a idea that I had probably for about a decade before we tried the first one. I came from the classical world. I started off in fourth grade in orchestra. My parents spent their last 50 bucks on a fiddle from the thrifty nickel ads, which in the southern US is like a printed Craigslist, essentially. And for the first 2 years, I refused to read music because I could hear stuff and I could play it. So I figured, why waste the time? And then we moved to Texas and I started hearing Charlie Daniels and George Strait. And I was like, oh, that's this. Sick. Let's do that. And then so growing up through orchestra and switching to viola, I did all region and all state orchestra, Houston Youth Symphony, and then got on stage with bands starting in seventh grade, and
Well,
trying to figure out what to do and how to play and what exactly a fiddle was and how I could make mine sound like it. And when I graduated high school, I think our orchestra of 75 kids, there's three that still play, and I'm the only violinist, just because there's not really a road forward for those kids. Once you graduate high school, if you're not seated in an orchestra, you're going to quit playing because you have the skills and knowledge, but not the perspective for, how to play with a band, how to learn stuff from the radio, how to improvise. And also for a state that's got a whole song about how important fiddle is to your sound, it shouldn't be so hard to find a fiddle player
yeah,
in Texas. And more often than not, the conversation comes down to who's available and who's capable, not who's the best fit, you know? And I think that's kind of a disservice. So the whole goal of the Texas Fiddle Clinic is to make more fiddle players in Texas. We want to be able to mentor young adults and high school kids for how to play with a band. And we hire the best fiddle players as instructors. It's definitely the only place you can get lessons from some of these instructors for sure.
yeah. And is it more? Because I know, like when the orchestra, it's like super disciplined. They don't want you going outside and improvising and expressing yourself, which is really weird because that's not the fun side of music. Like I've been there, and they're like, no, like why would you do that? I'm just like
Yeah.
because it sounded better to me. I
Yeah.
get staying within the song, but is that like a focus of the clinic too of
We
finding?
we finding your sound with fiddle, we kind of end up touching on at the end of it because for me, how you find your sound as a fiddle player is like how you break the rules. Play notes that aren't in the scale. When Brady Black slides in and back out of that C sharp as the second note of the intro to In My Arms Instead. He always slides his finger into tension, and that's how you know it's Brady. I mean, everyone kind of when you figure out what the rules are and how you can break them, then that's where all the cool stuff happens, and that's how you can start defining your sound. as a fiddle player because most of the orchestra kids are uncomfortable with how to improvise, you
Yeah.
know, because they're so used to reading sheet music. But lately, we've kind of opened up the access a little bit more because we want some young adults in there too. College age people. If whoever's willing to learn, we're trying to mentor people for how to play with bands, and it's really been fulfilling to have so many great fiddle players that I get to call, work acquaintances, but also their friends, and they absolutely love teaching. Actually, we found out today that Bennett Brown from Shane Smith is coming back. He wasn't able
Nice.
to teach last year, but he's teaching this year. We got Jody from the Cody Johnson Band, Nick Worley from Jason Boland, Hayden Vitera from Asleep at the Wheel, Damian Green from Aaron Watson, Jake Simpson from Lucas Nelson and Promise of the Real, Brian Duckworth from Robert O'Keen, and then myself as well. So it's a pretty stacked lineup this year.
Nice. And I feel cool because I knew mostly all those names
Yeah, absolutely.
because the fiddle is, man, I I loved classical music. My mom used to put it on all the time, and she would tell us stories. She'd make up stories while we'd be driving. And like I don't think I ever heard like I love like strings, but man, like when you hear like I guess Charlie Daniels like Devil Went Down to Georgia. I'd heard that song before. My dad was a fan of Charlie Daniels, and I heard that, and I like that. That was like the only guy I knew. And then when I started, because I just did not like the country music I heard, and then
Yeah.
you hear it, and then I think what really put it like through the stratosphere for me was watching Bennett destroy that thing. Like it's this little neck, and it is this dude making so much sound, and it was incredible. The first time I saw those guys, he's in like his car. I don't know if they're Carhartts, and he's just like watching a dude get down on it, and it blows my mind because like the fretboard's so small and it's so emotive at the same time. But when you get someone that just like burn the barn down, it's incredible of just how, man, and they're so clean. Because like when I got one, I'm like, how do you a guitar, it's a little easier. You move your palm across, but this is like, I was
You
just
said
like,
you
man.
have one?
Oh, I bought it. I I I tuned it, and man, that string came and smacked me in the mouth, and I was like, "You're dead to me." Like, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. It-
I bought. It was like a $400. It's like right next to me. Kimura.
okay.
I don't
Nice.
know. I don't know what four by four, 3/4. I had no idea what that was. I just bought the one in the middle,
Yeah.
and it. I knew about Rosin, like because that's
Hey,
in the song.
that's important for sure.
Yeah,
There's
and I'm like,
nothing comfortable about learning to play fiddle. I've had
yeah,
so many friends from that like play guitar or keys. They're like, "Hey man, I'm gonna buy a fiddle. I want to learn to play it." Like
yeah,
sick. Be prepared to suck for a bit. Like it's
yeah,
gonna sound like cats fighting and then whales talking, and then eventually you'll
yeah,
start getting some noises. But the secret's in the right wrist. If you can be flexible with your right wrist and not bow like this,
yeah,
then that's three-quarters of the battle. But there's nothing comfortable about holding it. There's nothing comfortable about playing it. You get used to it,
yeah,
but it's
and
definitely an interesting venture. It makes tuning relative, not having frets, you know?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm definitely going to pick it up again. I was just talking to Sunshine, and we was talking about Bennett, and like I went out and got a fiddle, and I was like, I really thought I'd be able to pick it up and make sounds because it's in, you pick a guitar up with an open tuning, you're already playing a chord, and I was like, oh man, that sounds pretty. But once I started pressing down on things, it was not pretty, and it was kind of frustrating because like I have really good dex. I have good dexterity. Like my brain, when I tell what my hands to do, it does, which I thought that was going to be the learning curve of just, but I thought the learning curve would be like how the notes or like how where to find them, how to know where they are and everything, and I was like, but like I can make pitch on a guitar, man. I picked that thing up and was like, oh.
I recently had the unique opportunity that put me in a similar boat holding a fiddle. There's a guy on TikTok. His name's Jordan. He plays fiddle. I'd have to remember her name. We were on a bill with Cody Johnson, um, and they were playing the second night. And when I met him, he plays fiddle left-handed, completely backwards of 98% of the world. And I've only seen like three left-handed fiddle players, so naturally, I'm impressed and have some questions. So he comes off stage and he's dragging cables, and I just grab the cables and like follow him. And he's, oh, thanks for the help. What do you do? And I was like, oh, I'm assistant tour manager for Drew Baldridge, but I also play fiddle. He goes, "Ooh, you left-handed or right-handed?" I was like, "I play normal. You play
Yeah.
backwards." He goes, "Well, you want to try mine?" I was like, "Yeah, of course." And so I tried to play it instead of like this. I tried to play it like him, like this. And man, it's been a long time since I've tried so hard to make pretty noises on a fiddle and nothing but squawks came out. It was horrendous. And him and his band were just laughing. And then he was like, hold on, what are you doing? Put it the other way. And I was like, the other way. And he wanted it essentially for me to play it normal, but strung backwards. And so like I tried that and I was able to squeak out some notes. But he's the guy that he had some videos go viral recently for the difference between violin and fiddle. And he plays like a pretty box song and then takes off his shirt and dumps a beer on his fiddle and then plays a fiddle song and that made it a fiddle. It
I'm,
was insane.
yeah, I'm surprised it doesn't come up on my algorithm because I'll normally like when I watch like a video of yours, it'll be fiddle or something like that along those lines
I'll
of
send
something
you I'll
strange.
send you his video because it's great. He's got some entertaining takes for
Yeah,
sure.
I like stuff like that. It's cool because man, when people like make videos like that, I feel like it gets people into wanting to like at least try it,
For
which I
sure.
love because I know if I played fiddle, I would bring it to bars and find that guy sitting there and just be like, hey man, can I just sit and just jam? You know, throw me out if you don't like me because if
Yeah.
anybody ever did that when my band was playing, I'd be like, yeah, sure, come on out. You know, I have
Yeah.
no idea how. I guess they have pickups in them. I have
Yeah.
zero
Yeah, I usually have
knowledge.
pickups put on them, but if you buy like a Barkus Berry, there's a couple brands that have pickups built into the fiddle that you just plug in. But the fiddles that I enjoy from the late 1800s don't have that. So I
Yeah,
usually get LR Bags makes a great pickup
yeah, I
that
like
they put
them.
on. It goes on the bridge, and they actually sponsored the Fiddle Clinic the last 2 years. They donated a para DI and then a pickup as well. So we're going to put it on a fiddle and give away a full fiddle this year
Oh,
to
nice.
one of the students. Turtlebox stepped up and gave us 4 scholarships and 4 Ranger speakers. So we were able to give away scholarships to 4 kids. And when they come, they'll get their Bluetooth Turtlebox Ranger speaker. And it's really been cool. We recently also had 2 graduates of the Fiddle Clinic. One of them, Jackson Reedon, got hired by David Lewis. And then Jackson LeBlanc, funny, they're both named Jackson, got hired by Casey Chestnut.
Nice.
So slowly but surely, putting some students out there, and I've started getting emails from bands and event coordinators looking for fiddle players, whether it's to add one to their show or if they just want one to walk around in the background and set the vibe at a corporate party. So there's really been some cool unintended consequences that are starting to come out of the fiddle clinic, which I'm all here for. Everything we can do to help teach the subtle art of honky tonk is
Yeah,
kind of our goal.
and that's cool because if people are like, you know, what are your credits? Even if you haven't been in a band or anything, you'd be like, hey, I'm from the Texas Fiddle Clinic, and
Yeah.
that's got to
Yeah.
be, you know, that's got to be some kind of some pull.
Yeah, for sure. It's slowly doing the thing. This year we're doing our inaugural clinic that's 2 days in Bryan, Texas at the Stella Hotel, December 20th and 21st. And then next year will be the first year we do 2 clinics in a year. Sunday, April 12th, we're doing one at Billy Bob's, and
Oh,
that'll be
wow.
awesome. And then back to the third week of December, we'll come back to Bryan College Station. It's always got to be the third week of December because there's only one time a year I can steal everyone's fiddle player without really messing with touring schedules. You know,
Yeah,
in the first 2 weeks of December, the NFR, which would in Vegas, it would take out half my instructors because they all go play out there.
yeah, yeah. I just
So
I just recently kind of found out about that and how big of a deal it is.
Yeah, the NFR is a good time for sure. I've got about 3 days of Vegas in me. After that, I'm overstimulated, out of money, and it's time to go home. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, Vegas is a lot of fun. But
yeah,
you've
yeah.
never been out there for the NFR?
No, no. I just went to Vegas. I was pretty much by myself because the girl I was with was at a conference, and it was just me walking around, just getting into
Heck
trouble.
yeah. Heck yeah. That's all there is to do in Vegas is
Yeah,
get in trouble.
oh man, yeah, I was ready to go home. I was ready to go home after what I mean. Yeah, it was funny. I was like, you do the big dinner. It's like, oh my god, like
Yeah.
I thought the rest. If you like food, that place is incredible with all the restaurants and how the close proximity.
Oh
And
yeah.
gambling with it was because I actually kind of did really good gambling, so I've funded mostly the whole trip. But yeah, I paid more for the bag. She handed me the bag. It was 98 pounds. I was like, they're not going to let you fly with this. She's like, I'm like, I'll just show them I'm disabled. I'm like, yeah, because your bag weighs 98 pounds. It was just stuff
How
like
long were
that.
y'all in Vegas to need a 98-pound bag?
Dude, not long. That's like, I can, I can live out of a backpack.
For
That's how
sure.
I travel. It's funny when Steve picked me up, he goes, I forgot you travel like this. And I was like, yep, one bag. Instead of,
Hey,
don't fit in
if it
one
fits,
bag.
it ships.
Yeah. Dude, it's got to be, being a fiddle player, that's got to be great too. You just, it's pretty much
Yeah.
self-contained. Like, I've always wanted to know what's a signal chain like for a fiddle at a concert.
So signal chain for me, I'm running through a neural quad cortex these days.
Really?
Um, yeah, yeah, because I play fiddle, mandolin, and guitar through it. Um, and my signal chain, Jody Bartula, he did a neural capture of a Noble preamp dialed in at noon, and so that's the first thing in my signal chain. And then from there, it goes to a small graphic EQ, verb and delay, and then out.
Wow.
The age of fiddles that I buy, generally, you go to a venue and the fiddle sounds kind of tinny and it's cutting through, but like not in the right ways. And that's generally an EQ issue. A lot of sound guys don't know how to EQ a fiddle. So that's one thing we're teaching all the kids about this year. That way they can talk with the correct verbiage and get all the changes they want. But my fiddles, I can just plug them straight into a DI box and they're going to sound great. That's the bonus with them being 175 plus years old is the woods had time to age and settle and the resonant properties of it. The deep, rich low end generally cuts out like that mid to high tinniness that if my fiddle, if I plug it straight in and it sounds like that, that's a sound guy problem. I've spent way too long crafting my tone in my hands and my instruments to let them sound like that. But yeah, I typically not a whole lot.
Yeah. I would have, I would never would have guessed that a quad cortex would be involved in a signal chain. But I mean, it makes sense if there's if people are able to catch and capture preamps like that and adding effects like that, and like
Yeah.
especially because you can go stereo with those things. Oh,
Oh yeah. And I've got a
that's
wah. I've got the Mission Engineering pedal for volume that I use as a wah pedal.
yeah.
For like the more rocky songs or rock shows, it always makes everyone in the venue stop what they're doing. They're like, "What is that? Where did that sound come from?"
Oh, dude,
It,
100%. Like, I was just watching Kin Fo, and I had never heard a film with the wall. And I was just like, dude, this
yeah,
is pretty cool.
yeah.
'Cause-
The Rico's an insane fiddle player, which he grew up like touring. I don't know how much you know about him, but he grew up touring in the classical world with orchestras, like toured the world,
oh wow, I
and then
no
crossed
idea.
over into fiddle. Yeah, he's not an instructor just yet, but he's on the list of people we
Yeah,
want to include. The list of instructors. There's so many talented fiddle players in Texas, and so our goal is to eventually, we want to do one clinic a quarter in different cities. So we did Fort Worth next year, and the next town we add is probably going to be Austin. It'd be cool to teach at a Green Hall, but I'm excited to be able to start introducing some more fiddle players into it and like get all of us kind of teaching. It's
yeah,
how we all learned is
yeah.
people spent time with us. Jody Bartula was the first fiddle player that I met that really took me under his arm. I joined my first band freshman year of college, 2012, and I played for Jose Salazar in the Broke 60 band. He now goes by Doc West, but he gave me Jody's number. It was like, hey, drive to college. I was in Huntsville. He goes, go to College Station, meet this guy. He'll show you everything you need to know. So I drove in the pouring rain in Huntsville and met Jody, and he gave me my favorite piece of advice ever, and that's just slide till it sounds good.
Yeah.
But that would have been probably the last half of 2012. He was the first fiddle player I met, shortly followed by Brady and all the other people. As you climb the ranks and move around bands and go do the howdy howdy thing, meeting everyone. I've been really blessed to be surrounded by the caliber of people and players in my circle for sure.
Now, is there like a Eddie Van Halen in the fiddle world? You know what I mean? Like there's
Ooh,
somebody that like
yeah, yeah. I think Matt Bell
Matt Bell.
and Hayden Vitera. Matt Bell's an East Coast cat. He's actually closer to you than he is to me. He owns the electric violin shop, and he plays mostly on electric violins, as you'd expect. And then Hayden Vitera, he's on our teaching staff this year. He goes and teaches with Mark Woods. Mark Woods is the founder of one of the original founders of the Trans Siberian Orchestra, and
Oh.
he invented the Viper fiddle, the ones that look like the Flying V guitars that have
Oh
frets
yeah,
and they're like
yeah.
7 strings. Yeah, so he goes and teaches with Mark Woods with the Rocky Orchestra deal, and then he comes to the Fiddle Clinic and teaches everyone as well. So he is the man to go down like signal chain of electric fiddles, because electric fiddle chain is way different than
Yeah.
acoustic fiddle. It's way closer to like guitar signal chain, actually. Because
Yeah.
his band's called Mariachi Rock Revolution, and they do mariachi songs, but double kick pedal, distortion, electric violins. And so he's
Nice.
got some pretty wild effects. At the end of his lesson every year, when he asks for questions, I always raise my hands like, can you play the Viper? Like, do the trick, do the roar. Like, come on, show us some effects, blow the kids' minds, because everyone else teaches with regular fiddles. But those would be my Eddie Van Halens of the fiddle world for sure.
Interesting. Yeah,
Yeah.
I saw one of them because somebody asked me like, why don't you just get one of those the ones that are like more like guitar? And I'm like, I mean, I kind of feel like that's like cheating. It's like I could have bought a 6 string banjo that was like a guitar, and I'm like, but I'm
Yeah.
not playing banjo. I'm playing like a hybrid of it. I was like, I want to get traditional before I get, you know what I mean? Because someone
Yeah.
ever handed me a traditional fiddle, I'd be like, oh, you know what? It's getting late. Yeah. Like, I wouldn't be able to do it because it'd be totally different. And you know, yeah, I want to bring it, be able to like be like, hey, check this out.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
people I know that play.
I did spend 5 years leading up to COVID with an Irish rock band, very much like Flogging Molly, Dropkick Murphys vibe. And my signal chain was still the same then. I didn't have the wah pedal. That would have been a really cool time to have it. It's the gig that made me grow out my hair. I auditioned for them at a nudist colony outside of Brenham, Texas. And this sounds like a bit, but it's 100% true. You didn't have to play nude. None of our band did. But there was also a lot more chainmail than I was expecting for a nudist colony. And like, I don't know if they make it, but it wasn't sexy chainmail. It was like armor chainmail, which also sounds really pinchy uh, to be wearing at a nudist colony. But I got the job with them and ended up spending 5 years through COVID. Got to travel a lot of the continental United States. Got to go to Ireland for Halloween, which was amazing for 10 days. And we even had a lot of the people that follow that kind of music are Rennies and, work at Renaissance fairs, cool, eclectic people. And there's a band of pirates that followed us around called the Drunken Monkey Privateers. And if you wanted to host a birthday party for pirate, just a pirate theme one, because you love them, you can call them and you can hire them and they will show up at your house with talking parrots in garb, hidden rum, like everything. So it's always fun when I go back to Houston and play with a band, because I made some really good friends out of that crew of the Drunken Monkey Privateers. So we'll be playing at a country bar, then 5 pirates walk in, and everyone's like, "Who is that?" It's like, it's my friends. Come on, let's go meet them. They're fun. They're cool. I promise. That was probably the most interesting band that I
Yeah.
played for. Yeah, they're out of Houston. They're called Blaggards, Blaggards. Um, that was some of the most fun I've had. A lot of the most good chunk of the road I've seen. was with them. That was the longest I've been with a band. But then COVID came around and kind of messed everything up
Yeah.
musically. So I was blessed enough to be presented with the opportunity to work at HEB um, and graduate college. If it weren't for COVID, I wouldn't have been able to graduate college. So it was a good time. I made use of the time, you
Yeah.
know.
That's
Yeah.
good. Now, is there any place in the world where fiddle's so revered you're the star? Is there any place where that stands
Man,
out?
Um, I took my wife. Oh, she was my girlfriend back then, but I took her to Grenada for her birthday, like down by Venezuela. And I had an audition for Flatland Cavalry when I got back because Laura Huell had just quit. And so I took my fiddle to the island because I had to practice. Like, I'm sorry, hon, it's your birthday vacation, but I'm gonna have to spend a little bit of time each day playing fiddle.
Yeah.
And they'd never seen a fiddle before. I would sit out by the pool at the place we were playing and just like play along with these songs. And it was all like the hey neighbor peeking over the fence. They had no idea what to think of it. It was pretty rad.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, especially if they hadn't seen it before. And
Yeah.
that also reminds me when I see on like your bio, you play with Dolly Shine, and it turns out there's two Wes fiddle players.
There is. I still get messages intended for Wes Hall on Instagram.
So I
Most
was
of
gonna
them are
ask.
like videos of him playing. There was one wedding request. They wanted him to play the wedding. And I told him, like, I'm not the Wes you're looking for. I'll forward the message, but I do play weddings. And they didn't message me back. But I'm going to start reposting those to my story as if it's me
Yeah,
as people send them because they see fiddling around as the handle with Wes and they just leave it at that. Whereas like Wes Hall, I think it's West Hall with a number is his handle, but it's yeah that's caused a lot of confusion over the years because he was the original Dolly Shine fiddle player as well. Um, he got the job with Flatland and moved on, and actually taking the Dolly Shine gig is kind of what caused the rift that got me let go from the Irish band
uh,
because we had like 2 weekends that were one offs, and I'd turned them down when Jared Flew. She came to me the first year. It was some one offs, and I couldn't do that to my band. So it hurt, but I said no to playing for Dolly Shine. And I told myself, I was like, if he ever comes back to me, I'm going to say yes, no matter what it is. And so the next year he came back and hit me up again. He's like, man, here's the dates, and it was Billy Bob's and Lukenbach, and I'd never played either of them. And so, like, absolutely, sounds great. And I made a couple calls around the fiddle community, the people that played with the Irish band, and got those dates covered. But that was not the decision to be able to keep playing with that band to take the Dolly Shine deal. But I absolutely love Dolly Shine. That's probably my favorite band I've played with fiddle wise. All the parts of the West Hall Road are really fun. More of like the Texas contest fiddly, a lot of eighth note runs that are a pain in the butt to learn because you slow it down to a certain amount where you can start to hear the individual notes and pick them out, and then it gets all wonky. So, yeah, Dollar Shine's been great. When I moved from Texas to Colorado, they were the only band that I played with that was like, we'll fly you back. No worries. As long as it's in the budget, we'll take care of you. You're a part of the family. We'll we'll do it. And so I've been able to play every Dolly Shine show since I moved up here to Colorado, which has been fantastic. I hope we get some more on the calendar here soon. I know Zach McGinn's doing like his songwriter band. And so usually those shows, we do like half Dolly Shine songs and half his music. But I guess I've played with them for probably 6 or 7 years now because it was before COVID. So it's been a bit
yeah, yeah. They have that sound that I found I really like. It's just
for sure.
it's
Yeah,
right
it's
up.
got that Texas dirt on it.
Yeah, I really enjoy it. Like rattlesnake, spinning my wheels and all that. It just has that cool like jam feel, but like it's got like great lyrics and stuff like dark and yeah. I think snakeskin boots. Somebody had covered it, and they're like, "Well, Jared wrote that." And I was like, "What, dude?" I was like, "Man, it's so cool how just how interconnected everything is." Because weren't you also playing with Kylie Fry as well?
Yep, I played with Kylie. The list of bands I played with is a lot.
I know.
I worked very hard to build a reputation for myself in Texas that you can call me with 2 days notice and I'll show up note for note, whole entire 90-minute set if you have a board tape learned. And so by doing that, the list of people that I fill gaps for really grew a lot. Kylie, I did play full time for. I played with Coffee Anderson for a while. I just played with him this weekend in Austin, and I'll be out in Vegas with him in December. But I've also played and filled in with, Kevin Fowler, Josh Abbott, Jason Boland, William Clark Green for a Steamboat show. And then I got to play with Roger Krager at the Tap for a couple years on he does New Year's Eve piano bars. So last time Brendan Anthony was there, but he was playing guitar. And so me and Jody walked in to go watch. And then he turns around and is like, "Where's your fiddles?" I was like, "We didn't bring them. We didn't want to work. Like, we're here to watch." And Roger looks at us and is like, "Go get your fiddles." So we went to my house and got my fiddles and my rig and plugged it up. And then me, Brennan, and Jody just cycled through fiddle and guitar, taking turns, just handing them off because all three of us play both. It
Oh,
was
you
a
play
lot of
guitar as
fun.
well?
Yeah, not lead. I can do like little annoying bits of lead, like a couple Nickelback intros, and I learned Kryptonite, and I've been threatening to learn lead guitar, but I do mostly rhythm.
Yeah.
Yeah, because especially during COVID when we couldn't play, you couldn't get enough people together to need a fiddle in a band. The stages weren't big enough to be able to space out. So I
Yeah.
spent more time playing guitar and singing. So being able to play rhythm guitar really came in clutch
Yeah.
during COVID.
Yeah. God, I remember we were playing a COVID show and people got up and started dancing, and that intercom turned on. Please sit down. Sit down. No contact. 6 feet apart. I'm like, this is terrible. Because, people, towards the end, I was like, man, something's going to burn down.
Right.
People were so angry, wanted to go out, and it's like, man, it it's a shame, like, because they always had a question. It was like, if people did isolate, could we get rid of the cold? Like, how great would that have been? If that,
Right.
oh, it turns out, that virus disappeared too. And you'd be like, yay, I
Yeah.
don't have to, I don't have to get sick anymore, but nothing really changed.
Yeah.
Everything's still around. It's still not as severe as, man, because I ended up in the hospital and they're like, yeah,
Oof.
yeah, like my dogs got in a fight and I passed out. I couldn't breathe. And then you go to the
Yeah.
hospital. They put the pulse whatever on you, and they're like, "Yeah, you need a bed, but we don't have one here." I'm like, "Oh, okay.
Mm.
I've never heard that before." And they're like, "Yeah, you're gonna have to call around because we're full." I'm like, "Oh, wow." I think I was just kidding.
Dang. You're right. Yeah. My
I'm like,
dad.
no,
My dad.
it's yeah.
Yeah.
I've been here all day. So, but
Yeah.
yeah,
COVID allowed me to graduate college. And that's 100% true because I ran for my degree for many years because the days that I needed to be on the road were the only days that these specific classes that I needed are offered. So leading up to COVID, I spent 3 years taking 2 classes a semester at various community colleges to fix my GPA that I let dive bomb when I started playing music. And A&M told me no the first 2 times, and then the third time they let me in. And I was able to graduate because it made the university expand their definition of distance education. So I could go to class every day, or I could sit at home and do it. Or when the road opened back up, I could be in the back lounge of a bus attending class. And all of my teachers were really cool. I mean, in school, I was also a better student at 28 than I was at 19 for
yeah.
sure. Way more on top of everything. But I think the funniest thing that came out of, going to school during COVID was I remember I was sitting at my dining room table, logged into a class, and this teacher made this big announcement the first day that, like, we're doing classes. If you interrupt class, your phone goes off, your laptop rings, whatever, I'm going to stop class and we'll talk about it whenever you come back. And I was like, oh, okay, that's fine. I just got a MacBook. I didn't know that when you call my iPhone, my MacBook would ring too. So I got a phone call from a 512 number that turned out to be Kevin Fowler. So I'm glad I answered it and offered me an audition, and that was great. But when I ended the call, I got back on my laptop and class had stopped and the teacher was waiting. She was like, "Okay, Mr. Barlow, you interrupted my class. What was so important?" Yada, yada, yada. And I told her, I was like, "I'd really like to visit with you during office hours, or maybe I can stay on longer after class. I've already interrupted enough. Can we please just continue? I'm really sorry." And she goes, "No, I've already stopped class. What was it? What was so important?" I was like, "Well, Kevin Fowler called me and offered me an audition to come play with him at the Poteet Strawberry Festival this Friday. And then there was just like dead silent, could heard a pin drop. She goes, "Congratulations. We should have talked about this later." And then just went back to teaching class.
That's funny. Yeah,
Yeah.
I probably should have went back to school, but yeah, yeah. It's just funny. I was like, "What's this number?" It's like 0.66. And they're like, "It's your GPA, you moron." I'm like, "Oh, you got to show up." Yeah, I'm not a big fan of showing up. Can't I just take the test? Because
Right.
I was like, I'm paying you money. I don't want to learn math. I don't want to learn math. And they're like, "We have to learn math." I'm like, "No." I took Algebra 1 senior year. My mind doesn't work in numbers.
That's enough
I'm,
math. Teach me how to balance a checkbook. Like let's do some math that counts.
I did 3 years of accounting because it was,
Heck yeah.
I can do that all day. But no, he asked me when numbers, when letters get involved with the numbers. No, no.
You're not gonna walk around with a calculator in your pocket your whole life.
Yeah,
Ha! Joke's on you. That did
yeah.
not
Jokes
age
on
well.
you. And like I work in the office that runs trains. They never ask when are they going to pass. It's just I look up and go now. There's no
Yeah.
calculation. Nobody
Yeah.
cares. It's whatever that guy's doing. Sometimes they have like a dead man switch. If they don't tap it, the train will stop. But well, I shouldn't say. You just get a stick and just
Wedge it.
yeah. What's that for? I don't know. But yeah, man. Now, like being a fiddle player is do people yell like how people yell at bands Freebird? Do they yell "The Devil Went Down to Georgia" to you? Is that
Absolutely. Absolutely. But that's $100 song is always
there?
what
You
I
go.
tell everyone. The only band I've ever played with that actually could play it was the Irish rock band. Everyone else, it's too many chords. But for them, unfortunately, they wouldn't listen to me about being $100 song. It was just in the set. So I got to play a lot, which is fun. But when I'm filling in with people, especially doing like bar gigs, taking requests, I was doing down in Georgia. It's like $100. And sure enough, someone will find the money in the bar, even if they pull it and drop it in. And that solid start to your tip jar. I love playing the Dead One Down in Georgia. It's a fun song for me. I got to meet Charlie Daniels one time. One of the bands I was playing with knew someone. I think it was the tour manager. So he was playing the Navasota, Texas birthday bash, and so I got to do a meet and greet and get on his bus. And he signed one of my fiddles, and I took a picture with him and got to talk for a few minutes. And he was like, "So I take it you play fiddle also?" And I was like, "Yeah, man. Devil Down to Georgia is kind of the reason I started playing fiddle." He goes, "Son, let me tell you something. Devil Down to Georgia is the only reason that I still play fiddle." And then he gave me a handshake and kicked me off the bus.
That's funny you said that.
Yeah, yeah, because it took me a long time in adulthood to kind of dig deeper into the Charlie Daniels catalog of stuff that wasn't fiddle. And when I finally got to see, him play that show at Navasota Birthday Bash, he spent a lot of time on guitar too. They were a rock band, just happened to have a fiddle hit, and he got stuck playing fiddle. The
Yeah,
South's Gonna Do It Again. I love playing. That's a fun song, a really recognizable intro for Charlie. But I enjoy a bunch of his catalog that also doesn't have fiddle in it.
yeah.
It's
You
kind
think
of,
that?
but you're right. It's kind of the free bird of fiddle.
Yeah. Now you think like some artists they write a song and they get stuck with it and they end up hating it, but they have to play it to appease the crowd. You think that was one for him?
I definitely think, at least at that time, I could tell he was not pleased with having to still play that song. Uh, for sure. He carny manned himself.
Yeah. I imagine. Well, you got to keep your chops up to be able to play it.
For sure.
I imagine, and that has to be, especially if you don't want your focus to be fiddle, and people demand that, and you pick it up and you can't perform. Oh,
Yeah,
that's a terrible feeling as a musician, especially
for
when you're going to see the faces and you're going to be on every tabloid. Charlie
yeah.
Charlie can't play the fiddle no more. The
Yeah.
devil won.
I was forced to learn that song in high school because my brother and I were learning guitar at the same time, and he wanted to learn more lead stuff, and I didn't want to mess with it. And he looked up the tabs and started playing Devil Went Down to Georgia. And I was like, oh, my younger brother can't play it on guitar before I can play it on fiddle. Like, I need to learn this song. And so I learned it. I probably played it probably 20 or 30 times a year generally because I do. I play acoustic guitar and sing, like we were talking about, and I've got a tour coming up leading to the Texas Fiddle Clinic, and I call it the "I'll Be Home for Christmas" tour. It's got Santa playing a fiddle. I do it every year, and I'll spend the first hour playing guitar, and then I'll pick up my fiddle, and I've got like a 15-minute just fiddle set that I do. And I go through like jingles and songs from commercials, play a little bit of classical music because I miss it and that's where I come from. And then I play as many fiddle songs as people recognize through George Strait and Charlie Daniels and Garth Brooks, all the big hits. And then I end it by playing and singing Long Hot Summer Day. And it's always a hit. I learned pretty quickly when I started playing guitar and singing that if I didn't bring my fiddle to the show, I can't talk about being a fiddle player because they always ask, "Where's your fiddle at?" And get mad when I don't have it. But when I play fiddle, if I say I play guitar, they're never like, "Oh, where's your guitar at, brother?" They always, I learned pretty quickly I can't go anywhere without the fiddle. Like you said,
Yeah,
walk into a bar. I don't really do that so much in Colorado. But if I'm going to a show like, in Texas, I usually have my fiddle with me and it never stays in the car. That's a great way to get it stolen or broken or any plethora of things that can happen, you know.
yeah,
But I definitely try to carry it just about everywhere I go.
yeah, dude. I definitely would, especially they're pretty compact. I mean,
It is. I'm usually the first one set up and the first one torn down.
ah,
Every
jealous.
drummer always looks at me. They're like, "I should have played fiddle." Like, you're
Yeah,
right, buddy. That's a
uh,
lot of stuff.
yeah. They have the most stuff to bring in. They're always late. I'm like, how do
Always.
you keep time for the band? And
Yeah.
you're always late. We're on the drummer's time. We're just sitting because we got to set up around him. I like the
It,
joke. It was like, how do you know your pizza delivery driver is a drummer? Is it the knocking speeds up? I always thought that was stupid, but it's funny because I
that's
told it to my
that's a good
drummer
one.
friend, and he's like, I don't get it. I'm like, because because you probably do it.
Exactly. That's a good one. I hadn't heard that one before.
Yeah, yeah. You'd find stupid stuff to send each other when you have nothing else to do in a car for. It's funny. It's like a far drive for me used to be 14 hours, and like I'll talk to people in Texas, and they're like, "Yeah, we're still in Texas, so you know." And I'm like, "Damn, I just drove through 7 states up here in the
Yeah.
Northeast." Like,
Yeah, it's funny talking to people up here in Colorado because it's a lot the same mindset. Like I've got a buddy that wants to go get lunch in Laramie, so it's like a 2 hour drive. He said there's this life changing burger at Born in a Barn that I got to have, and I believe him because he's a food connoisseur. And I told him, I was like, "Man, I'd come pick you up and we'll go to lunch." And he goes, "That's pretty far drive for lunch." I was like, "Dog, that's Texas close. 2 hours? Like I've
yeah,
driven further than that for dinner and then back. I've driven further than that for barbecue."
yeah, that's nuts. I guess, I guess it's the culture down there because when they talk these long distances, I'm like, I'm no, maybe it's but there is traffic down there. But I've driven down. Maybe like man, if I'm the like people are like it's only 6 hours away. Come down. I'm like man, you've never driven through DC traffic. It is god awful. I'm like, or if drive up here. I'm like man, it's $100 to cross the George Washington, especially with a trailer. And it's like
Yeah.
I just mean you got to get over there. And I'm like, well, we're not. We have to go to the next exit and turn around. It's yeah,
Insane. When I drive from Houston back up here after the Fiddle Clinic, halfway is Amarillo. 8 hours to go from Houston to Amarillo, and then the other half I get to cross two states. But because I usually go through Oklahoma and then over, I don't do like New Mexico, Raton Pass, and then up. Because I live in Greeley, so it's pretty. We're in the eastern side of the state, so it doesn't make as much sense to go as far west to end up on I-25 to have to come back east. Whereas if I just head north out of Amarillo and cross that like 37-minute wide handle of Oklahoma, there's nothing but Christian radio stations on and static. I think I found one Tejano station last time, but I don't listen to the radio much. I usually stream music, you
yeah,
know.
yeah. I I was like I feel like an old man, but DJ personalities were like, I mean, granted, like everybody listened to Stern
Yeah.
back in the day. Like, what here was 94.1. It was just like that's what you talked about at work. And then we had some other DJs. They're still around, but man, it's like used to have like different personalities. They were kind of like local legends. And it's just
Yeah.
now it's weird. Like you know, I have Apple Music and it's just on random. All that personality or just, you know, little bits and little I kind of miss it. And sometimes I don't, you know,
Yeah.
like because there's, you know, sometimes you don't like the DJ and you're like, oh, this guy just shut up. But
Hmm. Yeah.
it's just
I
weird how
drive
that
a
went away.
99. I drive a 99 Subaru right now. And it's got a tape deck and a CD player, which is sick. But try as I may, I can't get my phone connected to it. So if I'm driving in Colorado in my car, I listen to the radio,
Yeah,
which is cool. It usually expands. Like I get to hear things that I usually wouldn't have in my rotation for streaming. Because left to my own devices, if I'm picking radio stations and I'm driving, probably starting off with pop punk, like early 2000s, Blink 182, that whole era is my absolute, some of my favorite music.
yeah,
Even as a fiddle player, like the only time I really listen to country music, especially fiddle heavy country, is if I'm, woodshedding, trying to get ready for a gig, or if I'm trying to find some inspiration to go into the studio. I'll dig back through. And I've got a 6.5 hour fiddle playlist right now on my Spotify that I put on at the Fiddle Clinic. It's got all the instructors have some of their songs, but anytime I hear a cool fiddle lick, I add it to the playlist. That way, whenever I want to go back and woodshed, I've got plenty of songs to learn something from.
now do you have like a signature lick or anything like?
Uh, that my wife would say yes, for sure. I there's two or three that I usually lean to if I'm trying to figure out a song or like where I'm going to. But I've been hearing a lot lately that I've been doing some more recording, and I'm starting to get more compliments of, hey, this is cool. This is different than what you've normally been doing. So it's fun to expand because I try to not keep myself in the box of having like three licks, you move around keys and just move it song to song.
Yeah,
But there's definitely two or three that I just lean into if I don't know what else to do.
yeah. I mean that's the same with guitar, and it does. You'll hit a wall. It's weird how like I'll find like I'm like man I it's and then you have to think like nobody knows. I'll know. You know,
Yeah.
I won't know like watching you because you know I don't play fiddle, but I can look at a guitar player and be like, hmm. I said he's just not comfortable right now. You know, he's just staying in the
Pentatonic
little.
scale. I see
Oh
what you're
yeah,
doing.
dude. That's. But some people like Zach Wild has made that his entire career of.
I mean, there's a place and time and sound for all of it, you know. Um, Pentatonics are a great building block tool across all instruments just to know
Yeah,
because you can take it literally and only play pentatonics and sound fine. You'll get by. Most of the people won't know what you're doing, but the people that
yeah.
do play will be like, oh, okay, pentatonic scales. I get it.
Oh yeah,
But if you can take that and think outside the box and kind of apply it your own direction, then that's, getting right back into finding your own sound. How are you going to make sure the listeners know by your first four notes that it's you playing?
yeah. It's it's crazy. Like what I do like about of like what you're doing like a clinic and whatnot, and like I love teaching people because I, you find out you skipped a lot. Like if you get really good really fast, that I think is one of the worst things that can happen because you like you never learn how to read music, you never learn you know other scales, other
Yeah.
of how everything is just really derived from the major scale, and there's all these fancy names. Like I recently just noticed when you use a major scale, you use all the notes, like
Yeah.
you use all the letters of the notes, and that blew my mind.
Yeah.
That released so much brain power that I was constantly thinking, and I'm like, dude, once you're done, it's done. Your scale's done. You used them all, and I was like, man, and that's for everything. I just remember reading the book. I'm like, man, I never
Yeah.
ever realized that. And then there's like they have the cheats and everything for like learning the circle of fifths, and it's just here, there, and there, and
Yeah.
it's music's weird when you can tell somebody it's in the key of this, but it's also in the key of this. It's the same.
Right. The
The
relative minor or
yeah,
yeah, those are always fun. We always teach about that at the Fiddle Clinic in one way or another. It always ends up. in a lesson. I started teaching private lessons classically in the Brazos Valley, like College Station area. For 10 years, I did mobile fiddle lessons, mobile violin lessons. I'll come to your house and teach your kids, in your setting. A good part of that was because I lived with musicians, so my house was rarely ever a place for kids. But also, it allowed me to charge a little more because I could drive to your house and teach your student. And I could always tell what parents looked me up before they called me. Because I'd show up at the front door and by the expression on their face, big beard, long hair, tattoos. You're not expecting me to be able to teach a kid how to play Bach and Beethoven, but it all it always worked out. Start talking to the parent, setting up. They're like, "Oh, what do you do? This and that." "Oh, well, I tour and play fiddle." They're like, "What?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm a classically trained violinist, 22 years, all region orchestra, all state orchestra, Houston Youth Symphony, all of the classical things." But I always had a lot better luck teaching these kids if I could find something they were passionate about and find a way to connect that to the lesson, whether it was ear training or Juice World, the rapper, has a lot of strings through all of his songs. And so I had to deal with all of my students. So I was like, hey, if we'll start off the first 10 minutes of every lesson with reviewing whatever you're going over on in school this week. And if you spend your own time practicing that, then we can literally learn whatever you want because that's going to be your grade from your class and for your parents to know that like you're actually learning. And so as soon as I could cross that bridge and find something, a kind of music they were passionate about that we could connect with violin, then all of a sudden everything clicked. The kids wanted to practice. The parents didn't have to beg them, and they
Yeah.
were getting better every week instead of kind of teaching the same lesson 2 or 3 weeks in a row. It gets tiring for everyone involved in the situation, but it also means the kids not practicing.
Yeah.
And so finding, teaching, I love it too. As much as I hated being taught and going to school for most of my adult life, um, I found a passion for helping educate others. I had a lot of people really put their time into me and wrap their arms around me, knowing as a violinist, how am I going to play fiddle? And try to get out of that box. And so it's really been cool to watch all of my other homies kind of find the same thing where you end up teaching yourself a lot more than you think as you're trying to
Yeah.
teach others. And it's just like going over the basics you hadn't thought about before. And you end up saying something and seeing it in a new light. And then all of a sudden things start clicking.
100%. Because people are like, "Ah, you're too good. You wouldn't want to teach me." I'm like, "You're the kind of person I want to teach because I'll go, oh my God, I totally forgot about that." Or you realize something. And it also, it does for me, like sparks more interest and then like going down that. And when somebody asks, "Well, why is that?" And you're like, "I don't know." And then like, boom, then you go look and you find some more. And it's nice to go back and go to. I always say it's good to go back to the basics, and it's cool that that's how you teach your students. Because my first guitar lesson, the guy ended it. He just ended it and gave me back my money and said, "You're never gonna learn how to play guitar." I was like, I've always wanted to ask my dad, like, was that his idea? Because he wanted me to be a baseball player. He thought I was just like some great baseball player, which I had. He'd be like, "Let's go outside and have pitching practice." And I go, "Okay." And I throw it through the window. I'm like, "Yeah, I'm going to go play my guitar."
I remember I had an orchestra director one time that, like, when I started figuring out fiddle, we moved to Texas in fourth grade, and there was a kid in fifth grade named Matt Jones that his dad was the teacher at a local high school and had a fiddle club that, like, they went to Amsterdam every summer and played fiddle festivals, and a couple of them played Vipers. That was the first time I'd ever seen one.
Nice.
And so I switched from violin to viola because there weren't enough violas in the orchestra. And so I'm learning to read alto clef and treble clef at the same time because music's finally hard enough. I got to start learning how to read music on violin too. And Mike pulled me aside and gave me a big binder one day. Actually, it's not nearby. But it was a binder full of fiddle music for his fiddle club. And he was like, as soon as you can play this binder front to back, you can join my fiddle club. And so I ground real hard for like a month and learned all of them and got to do that was kind of like my first exposure into fiddle. And my orchestra director burned me an Allison Krauss and Union Station, like greatest hits record. But I had one time that when I started playing fiddle, I noticed that Charles Daniels never cleans off his fiddle. Brady Black don't clean off his fiddle. It's got the white rosin dust on it. I was like, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to leave the rosin dust on it. And my orchestra director was so angry with me. He was like, when are you going to clean that? I was like, I'm not going to clean it. He goes, violins need to be clean. I was like, this is a fiddle. And he goes, Fiddle players, he said it's not a fiddle, it's violin. He said fiddle players don't know how to take care of their things. That's why they don't clean their instruments. And it stuck with me the rest this far. That was fourth grade. And I talked to him a couple weeks ago and I was like, you remember what you told me? And he goes, nah. So I told him, and he goes, there's no way I'd say that to a fourth grader. I was like, there's no way I'd make that up. Like, what do you mean? Thank you. Like, it helped me, but I still don't clean my fiddles. I'll probably clean them every 2 years, wipe everything off because the body up where the neck joins, kind of the left hand side, gets kind of grimy from the skin oils moving around.
Yeah.
So it's really more to get that clean rather than to get the rosin off. To me, the rosin's like a badge of honor. You played enough to have that on there. It looks cool.
So I guess that's like the first impression. If you see a new fiddle player you never seen before, that's like one of the
That's
first things
not
you'll
really.
notice.
I look. I look at their right hand to watch like their posture because all of my sound, all of my tricks, the thing that makes me different than everyone is in my right wrist. Um, and I teach about that every year at the Fiddle Clinic, at least touch on it because we do like small breakout group work where we get 4 kids at a time with each of the instructors and rotate them. And I always try to get people to pay attention to their right wrist. But that's usually the first thing I notice, that and like their style. I can usually pick out who's classically trained and who hadn't been,
Hmm.
which no shade either way, but you get a little bit cleaner notes out of the classically trained people. Generally speaking, I get a lot of studio work for both string parts and fiddle parts. String parts like layered orchestral things, as clean as you need me to play, I can. Or rub some dirt on it, I can play fiddle too, whichever way you want to go. And Texas fiddle just has a unique sound in and of itself. And that wasn't really something I realized until probably 2 or 3 years ago. I started spending more time in Nashville. I'm like tracking for artists out of Nashville. And the 2 studios that called me, I asked the producers, like, so why, I'd like some more work, whatever you got. And he goes, yeah, I'll send you some more, but you're special. And I was like, how am I special? He goes, well, you've got that Texas fiddle sound. Like, I know when the songs need it, and you're my guy. And so that really just kind of like made me start listening a little closer to all of it. And Texas fiddle does have its own unique sounds in the way it moves. And that's what we're trying to preserve with the Texas Fiddle Clinic.
Yeah.
Because
That's
I want fiddle players to have to be as competitive as guitar players. You got to be shit hot. You got to be on top of your licks. You need to be practiced up, show up prepared, not just be able to play the instrument.
yeah.
It often comes around to who's available and who's capable, not who's the best fit. I want fiddle players to have to be competitive. Give me 10 years. We're going to have a plethora of fiddle players across the state, and everyone will be happy.
Yeah. Dude,
Then we're
100%.
going to, yeah, then we're going to have to start getting like guitar clinics together, and then eventually a full band clinic would be cool to like break kids up into bands.
Yeah. I love that. Dude, I used to always the rhythm player in my band. I'd sit down and say, I bet you can't play this. And I'd do something, knowing he can't play it, but he'll try, And he'd be like, and I love that. That's like when I was talking to Dustin. I was like, man, when you see Bennett do those runs, and if he does something you can't do on guitar, I get right back on the bus and just like try to like just so I can match him, because
Yeah.
that is like some of my favorite stuff when the guitars are getting it and they're going back and forth and then they're locking in, and it's amazing. And then like they'll just stop and it'd be like, all he sees you and expect to.
Yeah.
I love it. I,
Bennett's so fun to watch. That whole band, Shane Smith and the Saints, is one of my top 3 live concerts. For just the way everything moves and everything they put into it is just so captivating every time.
yes, and
Bennett in his shoulder breeches. He puts on a shirt when he comes and teaches at the Fiddle Clinic. The
I
first year
was
I
gonna.
hired him, yeah, the first year is the only time I've ever seen him play a fiddle
Oh,
with a shirt on.
oh my god,
The first
you got sleeves.
he taught the very first Texas Fiddle Clinic lesson the first year. I made him go first and I went second, which if he'd bucked about it, I would have gone first, but I wanted to have my hands on everything else with the PA and the recording of the lessons because all the lessons are audio video recorded and make sure all that worked out. But when he was coming, I texted him. I was like, "Hey, man, I'm hiring you for you. So you wearing your shoulder breeches, it's just as much a part of your playing as your actual playing." And he goes, "Oh, I better cover me nips for the kids." And I'm like, "Well, okay, sure." So I'll be interested this year to see if he shows up. in his overalls or a shirt.
Interesting.
Yeah, but he's got his own overall brand now called Green Man Overalls.
Really?
Yeah, yeah,
That's incredible. When your image can become a brand,
yeah,
that's awesome. Dude, it's
yeah.
funny is I always tell people because I'll be like, man, I love those guys. And they're like, oh, do you really? I'm like, listen, I go on their Instagrams, I go on their TikToks, and you know, Sunshine's riding dirt bikes and Bennett's riding bikes, and I'm like, don't you dare fall, like,
Chase is
where's
on
your
a
heart?
motorcycle.
Yeah, Chase, nothing like a Harley going to the gym. I'm like, oh,
I saw
come
that
on, man.
with his pre-workout.
Yeah, bucked up. Yeah,
Yeah,
me riding on a bike with it. Well, he probably can't tell because it's a Harley. I know with all that vibration, but I was like, that's how I know I love a band when I'm like, don't you dare fall. Even the drummer, he's like, doing jumps and stuff. I'm like, oh my god, that's
man.
the last thing.
The first Shane Smith and the Saints show I caught was at the Tap, and I think there were 40 people there.
It's
Real
incredible.
early in their career, they were still like borrowing the green van before they got on a bus. I played for a dude named Cody Sparks. And if you've never heard of Cody Sparks, he hadn't put out music in a couple of years, but he's right up there neck and neck with Dolly Shine for like my favorite bands that I've played with because all of their music is just so well written and it's got that feel. And the first time I showed up to Cody's house, I came in a day early because we had a really early van call the next day. And Chase the bass was sitting on the couch playing Xbox. And I was like, sick. He was, you hungry? Let's order pizza. And so we played Xbox and ordered pizza. And so every week I just started coming in a day early. So Chase and I can hang out before we each went our separate ways and got on the bus. Well, we got on our vans at that time.
Yeah, it's funny. He came up and talked to me at a show, and it was like after Shane was doing the meet and greets, he was at the merch, and we talked for a little bit, and then he walked away. And this girl came up, she goes, "Who are you?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" And she goes, "Do you know him?" I'm like, I've met him. I try to promote their music. And they're like, well, who are you?" I'm like, honestly, I'm a nobody. I was like, I have this TikTok, and if there's like a group of guys that I would love to see like rule the world, it's these guys. And they're like, oh yeah, I'm like, yeah, that's man. It's like their sound, like
And it couldn't be a better group of dudes
I
either.
know it's the whole dynamic, every aspect of those guys is just top notch. And yeah, like seeing even Chase picked up the fiddle that night. It's funny. I guess Dustin said he didn't know it was on, but he tried playing it. I have the whole thing on video. I should upload it.
Yeah,
But
I've got a
yeah,
video somewhere of Sunshine playing fiddle at like a late night steamboat jam session. I had two fiddles in my case, and he was like, "Can I play the other one?" I was like, "I don't know, can you?" And
can
like I
you?
pulled it out and gave it to him, and he played it, and wasn't it was or was not good, but he played it. It was funny.
Yeah, I told him about my fiddle incident where I bought the fiddle and I just you get humbled. Like I really thought I could at least make a pretty sound. And he was like, you know what you need to do? You need to get a mandolin. It's kind of like tuned, kind of like that. And I'm like, dude, there's one instrument. And I know you play mandolin. I don't know what it is. I like stuff like if you're like Ramstein, like
Yeah,
and that trilling they do, and it's not the same. They just play whatever they want. And they
yeah,
stop, and then it drives me. No, I don't know why. I don't have OCD. I don't think I
yeah.
just like I hear a metronome, and it's just I don't. But I hear like the Dirty River Boys, and then West Texas Exiles has a mandolin player that I absolutely love how he plays it, and because it can be a very pretty instrument, but once that like Hawaiian type thing, it's just there's
Hmm.
no precision to it, and I'm not trying to say that people like I don't. If you pull out a mandolin, I'm gonna be like, ugh. I just
Because that's how
It's
people
just,
used to learn fiddle. They'd learn it on Mando first because it's tuned the same. The
yeah,
strings are in
it's just,
octaves, but it's got frets, so you can get the tuning in your ears and then move it over to fiddle and try to find it. But I play mandolin enough to get by. Like
yeah.
that, I definitely have like I haven't spent enough time on it to have a huge list of like creative licks. So I've got like 4 or 5 Mando licks that I'll play if you want me to do a solo. But if you want me to do something cool, I'm gonna pick up the fiddle. But that tremolo always reminds me of like being at Olive Garden. How much Parmesan cheese do you want on your Alfredo?
Yeah, I don't, but like I've loved flamenco, and they do that on the guitar, but I don't know. It's just the one instrument. Like when people like, I didn't like the steel guitar, pedal steel. I just wasn't a fan. Like I liked classical music, but man, when you see like Texas, the the Texas sound, and the guys that are just like Bennett and you and how you play it, Kyle Nix and Brady Black and all those guys, and you're just like, dude, because like I have new Eddie Van Halen's, like I
Yeah,
absolutely love it because I like I like the shred
yeah,
and the clear, and I'm starting to learn like country music. You got to be good. You got to be precise. You got to have clarity. You got to have, especially in like the honky tonk and the chicken picking. You need note
hmm
separation at a blistering speed, and you guys do it on a level that blows what I could do or anybody on a guitar could do.
yeah,
It's it's so incredible, but it's so precise, and just how like you watch the bow go over and around, and it's just it's mesmerizing to me to watch the just the coordination, and it just there's so many notes, and it's incredible. They're this big, and
yeah.
the
It's pretty
sound,
wild. It's
it's
pretty wild
incredible.
how many different sounds and notes you can make on that with no frets.
Yeah,
But none of it works
100%.
without this. You
Yeah,
gotta have the right hand. The right hand's the trick. The first year of the fiddle clinic, one of the instructors pointed out, they're like, let's talk about your bow hold. I was like, my bow hold? Like what's wrong with my bow hold? Like, what do you mean? It was at the end of my lesson. And usually, everyone holds it with all 4 fingers. And usually I'll get to playing and I'd let these 2 fingers go and just play. And it definitely changes the approach of the bow to the strings, but also the pressure on the strings with how everything moves. And I'd never noticed that that was a habit that I'd built up. I always just like play how I'm comfortable. Because if you're not comfortable, you're not going to be good. Like
yeah,
you don't need to fight the instrument. And so that was a fun thing that I've tried to concentrate more on in the last couple of years to see like, well, when do I do it? Does it make a difference in my sound? What does it specifically do? And I always just end up going back to the same. Just usually these 3 fingers hold my bow. And it's
yeah.
crazy how much of a difference the right bow makes, player to player too. Like you can just change the bow you hold, and it will flip your sound 180 degrees
It's
depending
crazy.
on like the quality of hair, whether what the bow's made of, whether it's carbon fiber wood, is it Pernambuco wood, what kind of rosin do you use? It's like there's so many moving factors. The goalpost is just always constantly moving. You just find your favorite combination and stick with it.
Yeah, like on Sweetwater, just looking at different violins and the bows. I had no idea they could be that expensive. I was just like, oh my god! And just you see guys using them, it's just like just the
Yeah.
fraying at it. I'd be scared to play them. But I guess when you're
Yeah.
at like a level like that, it's just
I played with viola bows for forever because violas are bigger bodied than violin and the bows are a little longer and heavier. So, trying to keep up with a Marshall half stack on a fiddle, I need all of the tension I can get. The hair blends, the salt and pepper blend, so it's cello and bass hair. So it holds more rosin, it's more coarse, you get more bark in a heavier bow. But the last couple of years I've been using a carbon fiber uh Coda bow. Coda is the brand. It's called the Jewel, and it was like $900 retail. I was a brand ambassador, and they used to have the program, so I got a smoking hot deal on it, and it's changed my playing for sure. I recently bought, well, the Fiddle Clinic bought 2 fiddles on a marketplace find I didn't want to buy the first fiddle. The first fiddle's trash. But I wanted the second one. And the second one, I actually have it right here, is, it's pretty. Two-piece back, flame maple. This was made in the late 1800s.
It's
Handmade.
crazy.
I could tell by the shape of the F holes and like the different like double purfling along the outside and just the things I've learned to look at over the years and how they feel. And the fiddle's cool because if it's a copy, it's worth 2 grand. If it's real, it's worth 4 to 5 grand. So I just got strings on it. Haven't had it appraised yet. I'm gonna end up selling it and putting the money back into the fiddle clinic because that was the whole plan. But the thing I didn't expect was there were two bows in that case that one of them's worth about 1 grand, which is I paid $200 for each fiddle. So that's wild. But the second bow in that case was a handmade bow from the late 1800s from Ernest Hopf. And so I took him down to Texas with me last weekend to get him rehaired and leave them. That way I'll just pick them up when I drive down in December. And the luthier was asking me, like, where'd you get these? He's like, oh, it was a marketplace find. Like I paid $400. And she's like, both bows are cool. This $1,000 bow is fine, but this other bow, that's probably a $3,000 to $4,000 bow. Like, what kind of hair do you want on this? And I was like, I don't know. I've never had a nice bow like that, and I'm probably gonna sell it. Do you want to buy it? Like, I'll just not pick it up, So I'm getting her to rehair it, and then I'll figure out how to sell it. But when I first bought them, I sent pictures of them to the guy that I buy my fiddles from out in California and he confirmed what I thought about the violin. And then he was like, "What are you doing with the bows?" I was like, "Oh, uh, I hadn't made it that far. I hadn't even really looked at them." And he was like, "Oh, well, if you sell them, I want them." So that instantly gave me the okay. So as it turns out, with all these old like attic finds, like the fiddles usually aren't worth very much at all. But the thing that always gets overlooked is the bows,
The bow.
which is something I'm learning more about now.
Yeah.
Every
That
every way you can hustle. Because we try to give away fiddles every year at the fiddle clinic. And the original plan for this one was to give it away. But the value of a fiddle like this, we can't give that away. We generally get like early 1900s German made instruments, something that's 700 bucks. And then take it to Luthier, have the pickup put on it, have it cleaned, have it set up, and then give that away to an attendant at the fiddle clinic, and we get a special tag put inside it with a Thorn violin shop in College Station usually does it for us. So it's got their name on it and the Texas Fiddle Clinic logo. So it's cool to have that out in the world because eventually I'd love for the fiddle clinic to have its own line of fiddles.
oh, that'd be
You
awesome.
know, because on Sweetwater there's a couple fiddle players that have their own line of fiddles, and they have like 3 or 4 different models from student up to professional that range from like 1 grand up to 5 or 6 grand. So it'd be cool for the fiddle clinic to have that one day, you know.
Yeah. Well, your sales associate's going to call you after this. You should ask him.
Absolutely. I was on the phone with him today. Israel, if
Oh,
you
really?
see this, call me back. Let's talk about it.
Did you say Sweetwater 3 times in the mirror? I'm here.
Right. That's no lie.
Yeah.
That's no lie.
It, now, is there any like modern company making anything close to those vintage type instruments?
There are a lot of very talented fiddle makers that are making fiddles right now that they cost 4 to 5 grand to have one made, but you get to pick the woods, the finishes. I haven't ordered one myself, so I don't know like how much further into all of that it goes, but I've never bought one. I prefer the older fiddles. I can
Yeah.
spend $1,000 if someone knows what they have and I'm buying it. It's somewhere between 1 grand to 2 grand to buy the fiddles that I like. Um, I haven't ventured out into the newer made ones yet, just because it's 4 or 5 times the cost, and my ear
Yeah.
just loves that era of German instruments so much. So
Yeah.
that's a great question. I've never really thought about. Jody from Cody Johnson and I were talking the other day, and he's got an experiment that we're going to try because I've got a buddy that has a sawmill at his house and mills wood, and so he wants to have 2 fiddles made from the same tree so you can see like how close you can get them to sound
Huh.
because I've got 2 different settings on my neural depending on which fiddle I'm playing because they're different ages, different woods, they sound different. The older one's louder. And if you can get them made from the same tree, like, can you just have one plug-in and one signal chain and one EQ? Like, can you get it that close? So that'll
Huh.
be interesting to see.
Yeah, because like in the guitar community, like tone wood, does tone wood make a difference in a guitar? There's some people that say absolutely not.
What
I
do you
guess more
think?
on like oh, man, I don't know. I've always just I always play like EMGs, and
Yeah.
they're like kind of sterile. And then I got some bare knuckle pickups, and I'm like, man, the clarity is so different. I think a lot has to do with the pickups, but I recently got a PRS Silver Sky, and
Ooh.
there is something about that guitar that is just, and it's one of the lightest guitars. Like I want a guitar that hurts my back. I have an Epiphone. I hand it to you, it's gonna make your arm drop, and I love that. And but man, it's like I don't know what mojo it could be the sat because I know it's designed to you pick it up, it's supposed to sound like a 65 Strat,
Yeah.
and I was like, I never had a Strat. I am not I don't have that kind of money for 60 Strat, but
Right.
I want to get as close as like I could get to like what Stevie Ray Vaughan had, and man, there is something about that guitar that I don't know if it is the wood. I don't acoustic. I think acoustic the wood definitely makes a
I
difference.
I agree with that. I've got a custom shop Martin sinker that I absolutely love. Do you know about the sinkers?
No, I'm just like
So in South America, like 200 years ago, when you could still farm mahogany, they would cut the trees, roll them to the riverbank, float them down the river to the sawmills. And with mahogany being such a dense wood, they had to learn how short to cut the wood so it didn't sink. But there was a boat that went down in South America and was underwater for almost 200 years. And a couple of years ago, Grun and Martin went down with sonar equipment and recovered the wood. And all the wood that didn't disintegrate, they turned into guitars, and so they call them sinkers. And the resonant properties that the water put into that wood over the 150, 200 years it was underwater is just insane. Martins are already pretty loud, they're hand
yeah.
cannons, but this guitar is wild. Plug it in, tune it up, turn it up. May have to put like a slight low cut on it, but it's got the sinker back and sides, Adirondack spruce top, scallop bracing, vintage hide glue, vintage Grover tuners. It's very much a hot rod guitar for a fiddle player, but I love it. It's unlike anything else I've ever heard.
Dude, I've never heard of that. And think of all the stories your instruments have. You have like
Yeah, dude, if they could
1800s,
talk,
1900s. Yeah,
if they could talk, because the
that's
oldest fiddle I
incredible.
have was made in 1750, so it's
That's
older than the
insane.
Constitution.
Yeah.
And it's actually a 7/8. It's smaller scale because at the turn of the 19th century, early 1800s, they increased the scale of a violin to be 4/4. They're all measured in fourths now, 3/4, 4/4. There's 1/32 if you get really small and have like a third grader you want to, or a 3-year-old you want to put on a fiddle. But it's considered a women's full size because it didn't have a new neck grafted onto it for the new length. So it's a 7/8 instead of a 4/4 or a full size. Grafted necks is one of the things that I look for when I'm shopping fiddles on Marketplace and everywhere else. Is like, it's one of the things that if it's got a grafted neck, it's definitely from the 19th century. If it's been ungrafted, then it's older than that, you know. Depending on the verbiage of the labels. If it says made in Germany, it was made after 1914 because in 1914 they passed an act that if something was made to be imported into the United States, it had to have the country it was made from say made in on it. And so if it says made in Nippon, that's pre 1910 because Japan before World War One was called Nippon. And so there's all of these little catches and things that you start learning over years that are just fun to me. It's all
Yeah.
about the find for me. I love the instruments and they're great, and I love putting them into the hands of players that are going to use them instead of just store them. But the hunt for it is exhilarating to me.
Yeah. Now, what would you do if you went on Marketplace and you could tell there's somebody that has a Stradivarius and they have no idea? It's just get this out of here. What it's just like
I
in the,
volunteer to get it out of there for them.
yeah,
What is
yeah, in the
what does it
car.
cost?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like what's with the why is that such a highly revered, was he just an incredible, I've never really, I know
The
the
best of
name.
the best, the best of the best. They do not know why his instruments sound the way they do. They're very unique. They don't know if it was from like the old world growth forest that he used to cut it out of, or like the way he cured the woods, or was it the oil stain or varnish? No one knows what the secret is. Everyone makes Stradivarius copies. Most of my old fiddles are Strad copies.
Huh.
because they're just the best.
Yeah.
And the odds now of finding one that they don't know about, slim to nothing. They've
Yeah.
got record of most of them that have been destroyed or found already.
Man, imagine being that guy just threw one away. You know,
Right? It's
yeah,
always
this
fun to
thing
me to see the old violins on like Antique Roadshow reruns.
oh, that show. Yes, man, it's incredible that something that old still exists and it's a workhorse. Like
Yeah.
it still has a job to do. It's incredible.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's
This
only gonna
latest
get
one
better.
for sure. They just get better with age. This latest one I bought is very much the nicest. It's a collector's quality as far as like there's no damage to it. The finish is perfect. There's no chipped corners. There's no nothing, which means it's definitely too nice for me to keep because I put them through work. They need to live. They need to do some things. So I'm excited to put that in someone else's hands. When I went to meet up with the lady, she was like, can I play them? She was, well, I don't know if you could play them. I was like, okay, I'll try. And so I started looking through the fiddles, and she was telling me they were her father's, they'd been in the attic and yada yada yada. She goes, what do you know about them? And I started like just giving her a little bit. I'm not gonna give away the game, but you asked me honestly, I'm gonna respond honestly. I'm not trying to rip anyone off. And I told her, I was like, I can't tell much about the trash fiddle. I say it's someone painted it black over the varnish and then put like the bass geared tuners on it. And there's a dirt dauber nest inside it. So I'm going to take it to my luthier and just be like, man, what does it take? Obviously, I want to put good instruments in kids' hands. If you can get the dirt dauber nest out, that's a good start and see what it's worth doing with. But then I picked up this foot. I told her, this is handmade from the late 1800s in Germany. You can tell by this, this, and this, and this. And she goes, oh, you know a lot about fiddles. What do you do? I'm like, oh, I play fiddle. She goes, oh, no way. Do you have them with you? And I had them in the car. I was like, yeah, I'll play you a fiddle song. But can I just buy this nice one? I don't want the other one. She goes, no, you have to buy both of them. And I was like, okay, sure. What do you want? She goes, $400. I was like, okay. So I gave her $400. And then I pulled out my fiddles and played my fiddles.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, you really do know what you're doing. I'm like, yeah. Yeah, this fiddle's either going in a student's hands or it's going to be sold, and then the money is going to be used to benefit the nonprofit because it is a 501c3 finally. So that's been an adventure learning all the ins and outs of that. Finally got to hire a CPA because I'm not going to learn how to do all of that. I do too many things
Yeah.
already. I
Yeah.
manage Jody Bartula, one of my best friends, but he's also got a cover band called Jody Bartula and the Barflies, and it's a '90s country cover band. And I handle everything from booking shows through accounting, and they show up and play shows. So I already know way more about the whole accounting tax world than I want to, but that's what I had to do for that. It wasn't that much further past what I was already doing with my own LLC, so it wasn't too bad. But I've got a lot of irons and a lot of fires.
Yeah. Ah, definitely. Also doing TMing and everything.
But yeah,
You run a fiddle clinic.
yeah,
Busy guy.
yeah, man, it's fun. It's fun. I love it. Got to stay busy. I'm not good at slowing down or vacationing. I've got like 4 days in me, and then my thumbs kind of start twitching. It's like, what are we doing? Brain starts spinning. Like, how are we making money? What's next? What's the next move?
Yeah. So like I know for me, I at least have to play 15 minutes a day. Do you have like a set regimen of like a daily you gotta sit to just at least to put some time in
Yeah, I
with
don't
a
really have a
fiddle?
set amount of time. I definitely try to play a little bit every day. I've been my goal this week is I got to finish learning what I'm teaching about at the fiddle clinic. That way I could teach the kids about it. So this year I'm teaching, F sharp is a terrible key to try to play fiddle in because there's no open strings anymore. All of your chords change. And that's kind of what made me start carrying two fiddles because I could tune a fiddle a half step down and play in G, but it would be F sharp and it would keep all
Yeah.
my chording the same, which is a crutch that I've leaned on for too long. And a lot of fiddle players do too. So I'm learning how to play in different positions to not have to switch fiddles, and so that's the thing that I'm teaching about this year to all the kids is like, hey, you don't have to carry two fiddles. Here's how you do it. Spend the time, put in the work, and you'll reap the benefits.
Yeah. Dude, I'm the same way. I hate capos. They make my mind melt when I'm especially like one guy's tuned there and I'm I've had so many. You hit the first chord, you think you're in sync, and you're like, oh no, they're down a half step, and But yeah, I would have rocked two fiddles just to keep your mind, so you don't have to think about it, because a lot of times you can end up just being robotic when you're just playing like that. Now, like, is there a song like if you're at a fiddle clinic, hypothetically, what would be a song that you play front to back that if you can play spot on, like you're a seasoned uh fiddle player? Do you have like a song that just like hits the mark of?
Yeah, I think um, Texas country aside, I think as a fiddle player, if you can play Cheyenne by George Strait front to back and not miss a note, then that's a stamp of approval, because that fiddle part, you can whistle it. That was one of the first things that I learned I was told in the studio was you have to serve the song. And I was like, yeah, serve the song. They're like, yeah, but if you can't whistle the melody you're playing, then that automatically eliminates most of the walking world from being able to play your song. So if you can't whistle, you gotta do less. And all of the fiddle parts through Cheyenne are just so pretty and they serve the song best. It gets out of the way a little bit for the guitar, but mostly the fiddle plays all the way through the song. And all those old Johnny Gimbal licks are really fun to learn, kind of the building blocks of a lot of people's playing.
Nice.
And it's
So
that song being so slow, like you really have to be on top of your mechanics to make
mm,
sure all the notes ring through the right way. You can hide a lot with speed, you
oh
know?
yeah, I was gonna say it's very very hard to play slow. People don't realize, like, yeah, it's play fast. It takes practice, but to play slow, that takes it. There's a lot more to it, and that is one area of my playing of guitar where it is very very hard for me not just to ruin the song. Like,
Yeah, less
it,
is more. It's hard.
yeah, it's so hard. It's
that's
it's
that's one thing we hammer on every year at the fiddle clinic because we get these there's two worlds we get a lot of students from. We get some violinists from the orchestra world, but we also get the fiddle competition kids. um, Fiddle comps, if you've never looked into that, crazy. Three of our kids this year are ranked in three different states as the best fiddle player. So that's rad to have that quality of player coming through. But if what you're used to mostly either a first violinist always carrying the melody, never really having to be quiet, or being like leading the band in a fiddle competition, you never really give the light to anyone else. All these kids don't know when to stop playing.
yeah,
Like you shouldn't play over the lyrics, to get out of the way of the guitar. It's okay to not do anything. Just stand there and take a drink of your beer or your water or whatever you got, kind of look entertained and then pick it back up. Because when you fall out and come back in, it makes you stand out more. And so
yeah,
that's kind of the one of the main things we talk about a lot each year is like serving the song and creating space and just knowing when to be quiet.
yeah. That 100%. When don't get in the way of the lyrics. What is funny is like when I'll get on like TikTok live, like I'll lose people, and I'm like, man, I never play like this. It's just like a nonstop, just shred fest. And it's just like, I'm like, man, I hope people know, like, if they're gonna hire me for a gig, that there's no way I would play like this. But
Yeah.
but yeah, playing like that, it's definitely it's a discipline, and
Yeah.
it's cool that you teach both words of that, because they're gonna be very like you say, like you can play 10,000 notes, but you know what I mean, playing one and then playing two and three and then backing out, and adding to the song, adding to the emotiveness of that. Like, you should have some connectivity to this song when you're playing like a, a string instrument that is just, man, you're playing strings that pull heartstrings along with the song, and it's been one of my like favorite things to like really focus on, because that's what it does. It adds so much complexity to the song. And but when you got to open the gates, go see Biscuit go and
Well,
tear
yeah.
it down.
When it's time, it's time. One of the
Yeah.
first pieces of fiddle advice I was given I think I was in eighth grade by a guy named Ron Owendowski. And he told me, he was, all right, son, I see you know how to play. Show me you know how to shut up. And like such like old man sage wisdom. And it sounded really mean when he said it to me because I was young, but it made it stick. And so every year I always find someone to give that piece of advice to at the fiddle clinic. And like I say it and their eyes kind of get big. And I was like, okay, I said it that way because that's how it was said to me and it stuck. Like there's
Yeah.
nicer ways to say that. I agree. But the way you say it makes a lot of difference.
Yeah. Do they have that tell just sitting there like,
Yeah.
because that'd be me. I'm like just waiting for the squirrel to run across my vision. Is
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. What is your, we talked about my signal chain. What does your signal chain look like?
I have the same mission engineering into a Kemper, a Kemper, and
Nice.
I believe it's the first generation, and I've had that for years. It's the power one where
Nice.
if there's no wedges, because I don't know why the rest of my band doesn't do in ears. I'm the one who I don't have to go, huh? But yeah, if they need to have the sound, I still have it. But I think it's crazy. I've never played through a real Fender amp, but I right now my chain is like Fender Twins with like kind of like chimey on the verge of breakup and just like an overdrive.
Heck
Back
yeah.
before it was like a Bogner ecstasy type deal.
Yeah,
It, I man, there's something about and the 5150. It's the Eddie Van Halen stuff. There's
for
I
sure.
those guitar amps can just they're like pacemakers.
Yeah.
I love I made my dad buy me a half stack when I was in high school. He's like, there no, you don't. I was like, I need it. They don't make them in 1x12s. I need it. That thing I had. That's all you could hear. It was terrible. It was like moving on stage. We tried out for this show, and I swear to God, the thing moved. It was just moving so much air. It was so loud, and all the teachers putting their hands over their ears, playing Enter Sandman, of course. It was it was terrible. I thought it was the greatest moment of my life.
I've had some
But
nauseating rigs over the years. I've never found an amp that improved my tone enough as a fiddle player to want to carry one around or roll one around because they're heavy. But there
yeah,
was this one rig that I had that had a Line 6 Pod XT rack unit with a tuner, and then I stacked that on top of two single 12s. And it was the most Raggedy Ann looking rig put together. It was so loud, nauseating. I didn't play on it for very long, probably only like 2 or 3 months. I got tired of carrying it. Like, it's
yeah.
just not a fan. Give me a fiddle
Oh,
and a DI, and we'll be fine.
yeah.
We'll figure it
Oh,
out.
when people are like they rag on the digital stuff, I'm like, you've never carried a full rig up a spiral set of staircase, like a staircase. Like there's a place in Philly, and I see all these Texas guys and whatnot coming in. I'm like, do not expect to bring everything up there. And they always like, okay, okay. And then I see them after. I said, how was that load in? They're like, it was god awful. It just we left. We told a guy in the band to stay. You're not playing. Just we're not
Yeah.
carting your stuff up. And it's like, but yeah, man, the quad cortex. That's still on my wish list.
Man, I
I
used to have a Kemper, and I loved my Kemper. It did all the Kemper things. My fiddle sounded like a fiddle. I could detune for like a half step if I needed to, and as long as I was using in ears, because dissonance, and it was great. But moving from the Kemper to the Neural, insane. Number
Yeah,
one, the workflow's easier. You got a touch screen. You don't have to like figure out, turn the knobs and press the buttons and all of the archaic settings that the Kemper has. But also, my fiddle sounds like my fiddle through the neural. The signal's so much cleaner. Like what my ear loves about the granular qualities of the 150, 175-year-old wood comes through the front of house. It comes through my in ears. Um, every, everyone gets to hear it.
yeah, man, it's cost me $2,000.
Oh, they dropped the price a little bit these days. You can get an open
Yeah,
box for like 12 or 1300.
yeah,
But it'll make it hard to go back to the Kemper. Tell you that.
yeah.
It's just the
I've heard
depth of
that.
effects. They do everything better. Kemper made it, and they were the staple you wanted for as far as like the emulation stuff goes. But then they haven't improved anything.
Yeah,
You know.
you know, I one of my profiles I use. I think you sent it to me.
Yeah, yeah. I
A
remember
hundred.
when you first got it, I sent you a guitar profile
Yeah,
for it.
wait, the matchless is that?
Yeah, that
I know. I
matchless
use
rig.
that. I use that for like the chicken picking stock. I'm like, wait a minute, wait a minute. Yeah, hell
Yeah,
yeah. I
I
still.
stole that profile from Jody Bartula because I wanted an electric guitar rig, and he was like, "Man, here you go. Just give me your email." And he emailed me over the thing, and I remember seeing your Facebook deal about it, and so I sent it to you. It's a cool little patch.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah. I was just saying. I was like, because I use the if I'm not doing the Fender Twin, it's the matchless or the Doctor Z, uh, the one Brad Paisley uses,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
Z Rec.
yeah,
That has a cool, just a really cool glassy feel to it. It's just you can push that thing and it just really cuts. But
for
yeah,
sure.
man, we've been talking for like close to 2 hours. Did we
Yeah,
touch everything?
I probably go get dinner here in a little bit, but I think I think we've covered just about everything that was on my itinerary of things I want to talk about. Is there anything left for you?
Dude, I'm excited. I know more about the instrument now. Like it's really cool, and I think it's really cool that this new generation coming up, we're still gonna have that preserved because who thinks playing a violin's cool, you know?
Right,
Because
right.
I wouldn't have thought it. Do I like the sound of it? Yeah, but there's the fancy people all dressed alike in that hall. They're playing in that orchestra room. They're playing it. They're good. I'll never be better than them. And then you go, you see, and you get to see like from a guitar player point of view, where like Eddie Van Halen, Jimi Hendrix, and all those like Steve Vais, and you just think like that's like if you just like that, that's that, and then you go see Bennett and what you can do with and Kyle Nick and all those guys, Brady Black, and just absolutely just if I was like I have to go get one, I absolutely and then I'll eventually get back to it, but man, it's an entirely different side of what you can do with a traditional instrument. It's
Yeah.
nobody probably thought to play it the way you did when it was first constructed.
Right. That's the mind blowing thing to me is like the history of it is every as you move around, because finally United States is becoming an old enough country that we're starting to have violin makers from the early 1900s that are building a name because our country's finally been old enough. But as you start looking at all these American made fiddles and violins from the early 1900s, what it actually ends up being is like a story of where they came from because all of the settlers here came from Europe. And so you get all of the different changes between like the Italian finishes and the German construction told through the tools and the woods we have at the time in our country. So it's going to be in about 20 years, we're going to have a pretty cool like American fiddle story of through the immigration and where everyone came from.
Like, dude, that's man. There's not a lot of. That's a cool story. Yeah, I love stuff like that because like you just wouldn't sit around and think about that of being here and the time and stuff like that because like with the guitars I would know like Martin is old, but that just because it's the state over. But
Yeah.
man, that's crazy when you
Yeah.
actually think about it. And
Yeah.
I love the
It's cool
history.
if they could talk.
Yeah, it's probably like the hell you doing to me, Wes? First it's all prim and proper. Now it's,
Yeah, because I still do quite a bit of classical music too. I play weddings pretty regularly, so like
yeah,
there are some times I do miss like sitting in an orchestra and playing like sonatas, but not nearly like I would miss, if I were in the violin world, didn't play fiddle anymore. Fiddle's just so much more fun and captivating, and you get to hear everyone's personalities. Like who they are
yeah.
as a person comes out of the notes they play. I'm sure you know the same thing about guitar players and all of that. When you hear Eddie Van Halen, you know who it is. When you hear
Oh yeah,
Slash, you don't need the intro. You know who he is. Even if he's just improvising, you could tell by the way they
yeah,
approach the instrument.
yeah. I, it is cool. Like I have favorite bass players and drummers and stuff, but now I have like favorite fiddle players. It's cool that it's cool to have another rabbit hole to go down and a whole nother just because now like I want to like listen to the slides and to get the different characteristics down to really see if I can pick out, different people's styles. And now I'm going to be obsessed with watching how people hold the
Hold
bow
the
and
bow.
stuff.
Yeah, for sure. When you pick your fiddle back up, let me know because we audio and video record all of the lessons at Texas Fiddle Clinic. That way the students can revisit them for free through a year through a portal on our website. And so right now I'm working on a structure for like a box set or subscription service. Now that we'll have 3 years of lessons to help serve all of the people that are outside of our target audience. But if you pick yours back up, let me know. I'll send you a couple lessons and see
Nice.
if they help. See what you think. I'm always here for any kind of questions you got. It's not an easy instrument for
Yeah.
for sure, as you know from trying to pick it up.
Yeah.
Perseverance and practice are the two P words you're going to need to play violin and fiddle.
Yeah. And talking to you, I'm definitely like, yeah, we're gonna be cracking open that case, putting some
Yeah,
new strings on it, and I'll just I'll eventually get a feel of when I know they're gonna fucking take
yeah,
off.
yeah.
Like a guitar, you can just tell.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Because like Brady's lesson the first year, he taught the 5 different ways to play one note, which was cool because I could only he'd only ever told me four, so I didn't know if like the fifth one was going to be homework or give us a secret. And then he taught the whole room how to play in my arms instead. Using tablature, and that was such a full circle moment for me. As a fiddle player in Texas, you got to play like Brady Black for a long time. You're gonna hear in my arms instead. They're gonna first song they always ask for. So it was a really cool full circle moment to watch him teach a room full of high school kids. Because I remember having to keep rewinding the song and learn it. Didn't get to
Yeah,
learn it from the man himself and ask him the questions. We all try to kind of steer away from the sheet music on our lessons and try to take, what orchestra directors are going to want out of players, but also what we learn on stage that you're not going to get in an orchestra class. More creative based lessons, put everyone on an even playing field. We're
yeah,
all going to do something new.
yeah, dude. That's got to be when you see the guy who plays it and get taught by him. That's got to be an incredible experience.
I'm interested to see what Bennett teaches about this year. He just told me today he's coming back, so he hadn't answered my text yet about what he's teaching about. But I've got a running list of lesson
Yeah,
ideas. It's like I talk to instructors through the year or like fiddle playing buddies because now like all of my homies talk about the fiddle clinic with each other. Like, what are you teaching this year? What are you doing? Oh, did you get invited? It kind of unintentionally ends up hurting people's feelings every year
hmm
for who doesn't get either told it was happening in their town or didn't get invited to teach this year. And I'm blessed to be surrounded by so many fiddle players that want to be a part of it, that we're going to have the room for in the future. But right now we don't have a marketing budget. So I got to lean on this grassroots thing we're building with all of the instructors. And then if their bands happen to be willing to share it, that's cool too. So I'm definitely excited to start extending out. Like you're trying to get Wes Hall to teach in Fort Worth. Fingers crossed I can fly in Janae Fleenor from Nashville to come teach. Do you know who Janae is? Does that name ring a bell? So she plays, she's the call person for fiddle in Nashville. She's like 4 or 5 time defending ACM player of the year. She
huh?
played for Blake Shelton, heartache medication, John Party, that really catchy fiddle lick. That's her. All of the Cody Johnson stuff that Jody doesn't do is her. She very much plays fiddle like a guitar player. She grew up wanting to play guitar, but played violin. So she started learning all of the guitar parts on her fiddle. And she's just an incredible player, such a wealth of knowledge.
You have to look her up.
Yeah, she's great. She's got her own bluegrass band called the Boxcar Heroes, and they're awesome too. But I'm excited to expand out to Fort Worth and keep preaching our kind of like catchphrase is teaching the subtle art of honky tonk.
There you go.
And that was a quote from Jody Bartula. We put it on t-shirts. We're about to put it on a backdrop. We're about to put it on laminates. We're putting it on everything.
I like that.
Yeah, man. Yeah, thank you so much for your time today. It's been great hanging out with you and getting to know you a little more and pick your musical brain. Uh,
Yeah,
it's been a
dude,
lot of fun.
that was very educational. Dude, I still can't believe how old this. That's amazing. Of just there's so much history. I like old stuff, and it's still living. It's still doing its job.
Definitely.
Yeah.
My wife does not like taking my instruments to the luthier without me. I remember when we first started dating, I was touring with that 1750s fiddle. I was like, "Hey, can you take this over there to my luthier?" Like he's waiting on it. She goes, "Okay." I was like, "Just be careful with it. It's in a case. Don't drop it, but it's okay. It's protected." She goes, "Well, how old is this?" And I was like, are you asking questions you want to know the answer to, or are you just curious?" Because it's old. And I told her, and it took me 15 minutes to convince her. It's like, "Oh, it's okay. Just carry it, put it in your car, be normal. It's going to be fine. I know it's old." But it's crazy for me to think about too, how old some of these instruments are that I just have the pleasure and the ability to play.
Yeah. Yeah. That's, I can't, like a guitar is like 60s, 50s. Oh, you're playing songs.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Different centuries.
Different centuries. Exactly. Yeah. Like places weren't called this things they are called now. Things have
Yeah.
happened.
Yeah.
Wars,
Yeah.
famines,
Everything.
pandemics. Yeah. There's been, it's a whole new world. And here it is. But yeah, like I said, thank you for taking the time to talk as well.
Absolutely.
And
I appreciate your time and letting me use your platform and get to know you a little better. Definitely, when you pick that fiddle back up, you get an itch, let me know, and I'll send you a couple videos of just different lessons,
I
of things
definitely
to look
will.
at.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe that's all I need, just like a direction of just,
Direction helps a lot. Fiddle's
yeah.
hard to learn virtually, for sure, over distance. It's much easier if you can connect with someone every now and again in person, and just
Yeah.
get things looked at. It can be done. It can be done. I've taught a couple
Yeah.
people over social media and Skype and FaceTime and what have you.
Yeah. I'll definitely try again. I got some new strings, so uh,
Absolutely. And if any of your followers watching this want to learn more about the Fiddle Clinic, I've got a website, www.txfiddleclinic.com. It has all the bios of all the instructors. If you just want to learn more about them, there's ticket links, there's an about us. There's a student portal, obviously, they can't get into unless they were previously attending a clinic. But we're going to change the scene. We're going to have more fiddle players. We're going to do it.
I love it. I I definitely love the mission because yeah, it's an incredible instrument. It's it's one of my like new favorite things for sure.
Definitely,
Of
definitely.
of
It
hearing
takes a
hearing.
village. I'm blessed to be surrounded by, the sponsors we have, the instructors. Everyone really comes together and sees the mission, and then the changes we're making in these students' lives is just so impactful. One day I might be able to pay myself to do it. Right now, I have not paid myself anything for any of the 3 years we've done it. All of my instructors get paid. All the vendors get paid. One day I'll be able to make some money too, but it's very much a philanthropic. I would do this the rest of my life if it didn't pay a penny. I'm
Yeah,
already dang near signed up to. So it's fun to be able. How blessed am I to make a living doing something that I love? Being
yeah,
able to play fiddle and then also being able to help inspire others. Because I had so many people wrap their arms around me and inspire me. It's kind of the unspoken rule you get as a musician. You got to pass it on.
yep,
You got to pass it on.
yeah, and make memories for new people, and it just that gratification just keeps going back and forth from
Definitely.
teacher to student, back to student to teacher. There'll be a moment where you're like, hey, what you do? How'd you do that? And
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
it's
Absolutely. Well,
it's
I hope we can do this again sometime soon, man.
yeah,
It
dude,
was a great time. I'll have to holler when I'm out
100%.
your way too.
Okay, you come out northeast. I've been
Yeah.
saying
It'll probably
I
be
need to.
spring, but I'll be out that way for sure. I'll definitely let you know.
Nice, yeah,
Bring your
definitely.
fiddle. I'll show you a couple things.
Yeah. What's this doing here? Like this. Why is this clean?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But yeah, man, once again, thank you. I'm really glad we got you on. We had a conversation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thanks for your time. I look forward to running into you down the road, brother.
Hell yeah. 100%. I I'll make sure that happens.
Sounds like a plan.
All right,
Sounds like a
man.
plan. I'll talk to you
I'll
soon,
talk
brother.
to you later.
Appreciate you.
Yeah, man.